find your flow, follow the map. Mile high dreaming's got your back. Denver skies, trailhead pride. This is your moment.
My name's Elliot Spence. This is how you can contact me if you want to. I'm a senior director at Coastal. We're an implementation partner. I focus just on financial services, banking, lending, wealth and asset management, insurance. That is my primary focus. So we are one of the most heavily regulated industries in the world, which makes this topic, handling flow errors, even more near and dear to me. I also lead the Salesforce user or architect group in Cincinnati. Prior to that, I was the admin group leader. So what we're going to go through today, just a little bit of why error handling is critical, but I'm going to take that a step further into taking it back to my day when I started as an analyst, then an admin, senior admin, product owner, trying to paint that picture to my leadership of, hey, we need more admins, we need more product owners. Here's why. We wear so many different hats, but it's hard to get that head count on your team if you can't paint the picture and clearly show your leadership team that makes those hiring decisions that we need people, and here's why. So we're going to go through some, the anatomy of a flow failure, error handling patterns, and then quite a few demos while we're going through it. This time is for all of you. If you have questions, you can hold them till the end. You can feel free to shout them out. Either way works for me. I don't mind. So, why we're here today, how many of you have been in an org kind of like this? This is just a little trailhead environment, and you deliver something to the users, and the users go through and like, oh, this is great. I need to schedule an annual review for my client, and I go through and try to schedule it, put in any notes, some gibberish there, and then they get this. Something went wrong. But to the end user, that says absolutely nothing. They don't know what it is. They get mad, they lose faith in the system, and they stop using it. You're going to lose that adoption. So it's taking these errors, this unhandled fault that says nothing, means nothing, they get pissed off, and this other thing down here which says, hey, it failed. Why did it fail? So it's delivering that messaging, but also taking it a step further and delivering it to your admin team on how they can track it and get to the root cause and fix the issues, or just make it a lot better rather than just fixing it. So why does this matter to them? Number one, it improves the user experience. The default error messages, they're cryptic, they're technical, and they just confuse users and they lose faith in the system, they lose trust in the system. The second is being able to provide that friendly, clear message that builds that trust and also improves adoption. It tells them exactly what happened, why it happened, and how they can potentially resolve it on their own. And then last, the poor UX in one flow can sour their opinion over the entire Salesforce system. And how many people are admins in the room? What about product owners? But that's one of the big things. You can deliver the coolest thing in the world, and technically it's great. It's going to do everything. But if they have one error message, they just completely stop using the system, and they go back to their spreadsheet, SharePoint, and all these other things that are just terrible. It enables admin troubleshooting and root cause analysis. We're going to go through that today. So we get those errors. How do we root cause it? How do we fix it? How can we better the user experience? It supports scalable design and maintenance. So we're going to go through how do we have these fault messages but not have to rebuild them over and over again. Flow is pretty much the only tool other than Apex now where we're building this. So when we're building 50 flows in an org, we don't want to rebuild this fault message over and over and over again. I want to build it once and just use it on every flow. It helps meet compliance and audit needs. On a regulated industry that I work in each and every day, this is just vastly important. So it's something that I need to be able to deliver to compliance. I need to be able to deliver to audit. How many errors are we getting? Why are we getting these errors? Who's handling the errors? How long is it taking them to work through the errors? So I need to be able to meet all those needs that compliance and audit deliver to me all the time and tell them exactly what's going on in our system and why it's going on in the system. It empowers proactive admin and architect behavior. So again, you know exactly when things happen in the system, how we can root cause them, and how we can take them a step further. Well-handled errors shift the mindset from reactive to being proactive. Because if you get things once, and it's happened a lot where I get something once, I'm like, wait a second, this is going to spiral out of control pretty quickly if I don't take care of this. And digging into where exactly it happened within the flow is something that's going to make things quicker and more scalable as well. It gives the architects on the team, the admins on the team, visibility into those patterns, reducing errors that can signal bad design or missing validations. Because there's a lot of reasons the flow can go off the rails. It could be something that has nothing to do with you, and you're going to see that in one of the dashboards I'm going to present here momentarily. And it also lets the teams prioritize fixes based on real-world impact, the frequency it's happening, the severity where it's happening, because you could have something where it's just, they're trying to schedule that annual review. Okay, that's serious. We need to fix that. But if something's airing out when we're trying to approve loans for somebody that's trying to get a mortgage or trying to get a commercial loan, I'm going to focus on that one first. I know what's coming in. And finally, it allows for custom logic beyond those standard rules. So Flow these days, has anybody in here used the custom error messages? So that's another one where you have out-of-the-box validation rules that are great. They have a ton of use cases, but there's often times where we get into projects. So I'm working for a number of clients where they say, well, if this, and this is all true, they shouldn't be able to do this. Well, it's based on like 4 or 5 different objects. Can't really do that with a standard validation rule. That's where the custom errors come into play. So the anatomy of a flow failure, what happens here? So common causes, you have validation rules, you have missing required fields, you have null values, you have DML errors. All of these come into play all the times with flows, and we got to account for those and making sure we're given the right messages of why things are failing, but also accounting for those as we design our flows. You have default error messages. Those are the bad user experience. So they're technical, they're confusing, they're not actionable, they tell nothing to our users. It just frustrates them. It damages their user trust. They get that one time in the system and they completely drop everything and they don't want to use it anymore. We know how valuable it is. We know how well it works. And it could be user training. They could be doing something wrong on their end, and that happens all the time too. So it could be a training opportunity where we sit down with them and explain, here's how you walk through it, here's why you got that error, here's how you can fix it going forward and use the system. So the null values, I wanted to come back to that one real quick. You have the get records element. It might return nothing, but your flow still tries to use that missing value, and that's where it errors out. That's a very common one. So you can give that in the error message, but you can also account for that within the flow with a decision, did we find something? And if not, let's just end and show them some kind of message, if it's a screen flow or a custom error message, without it actually airing out. The flow works, and it goes down that path, knowing there's nothing in that null, in that get records that you're hoping to get. And then finally, the out-of-the-box system error, the real user experience. We want to deliver them something that's going to tell them why it failed, and if they can't fix it themselves, they get a more like usable error message of why it happened, but they know a message already went to the system admin, the team's working on it, and here's the reason why it failed for them. They could fix it on their own, but oftentimes it has to go to an admin to resolve it, and we get back into it. So again, this is what we're going to be eliminating today, but taking it a step further of things you can take back to your team to show like why we need more headcount, why I need help, because I'm training people as an admin. Writing user stories. I'm handling the backlog. I'm going to the COE meeting and supporting that. I'm also building and configuring all the new functionality you want to get into the system, but I'm also handling all these errors. And these error messages and tickets that come in take a lot of time out of my day. Here's how many we're getting. Here's why they're happening. Here's where we can use some assistance on our team. So we're going to eliminate this. So again, some more of these error handling patterns and tools. These are what you're going to see a lot of today. The fault connectors. Has anybody built flows and used these fault connectors today? Hopefully after today, all those hands go up. When I'm in and I'm running with some of the design teams on our projects, it bugs me when I don't see them, because these are going to go cause errors. You're going to even get, as an admin, those cryptic emails that come through with those nonsense error messages. Then you have to go into the debug log. You have to start looking into it. So using these and this makes things a heck of a lot easier. As we're going through it, we're going to be capturing all these different error elements as variables, passing them into our subflow, and then customizing every email using the same email action is going to be different because it's telling you exactly, as an admin, what happened. But not only that, it's going to tell you exactly which DML it errored on. Not just that it failed on this get records, it failed on this get records, it failed on this create records for this reason. You're going to pass all those over as variables. Decision elements, we're going to be using those for our DML statements. So when we go on there and we're getting a record, did we actually get anything or is it empty? If it's empty, let's stop. Let's check and make sure we have something first. So what this is going to provide here, routing failed actions to an alternative logic path, making sure we have what we need, displaying those clear, concise, user-friendly error messages that tells you exactly why things are happening. It's going to notify the admins. You already get an email, but it's that cryptic one, but notify you separately, and you can do a custom notification if you want to. You can post a chatter, you can post a Slack. It comes down to the experience you want to deliver to your admin team and yourself. We're not duplicating these efforts. We're making it all reusable so that we build it once and we use it over and over and over again on every flow that we have. Providing that persistent audit trail, and you're going to see what that looks like here momentarily, to know exactly what's happening, when it's happening, why it's happening, how much time it's taken our team to resolve these, how many error messages are happening this week, last week, the week before. And you're going to see on my dashboard that I have, my errors in my demo org went up tenfold in November and December of 2024. Why? We got the Salesforce release. The Salesforce release broke something in the org. It paused all these little actions that have to happen, and my errors just spiked. Wasn't a real org, it was fake, but that is something that can happen. So it's providing that, well, did you guys architect something wrong? No, we got this update, and it turned all these things off, and we had to go back and flip them back on. The best error handling at all, not needing it. Architecting things the right way, making sure it works appropriately. We don't need these error handlings, but it's best to always have them in place. So, first demo. So, what we're going to go through today is a flow failure routed with a flow connector. It's going to display that friendly error message for the end user telling them exactly what happened. The error details are logged to a custom object. I'm calling it error log today. The log's going to include the flow name, the flow type, the user, the timestamp, the record ID, and an error message, and then an email alert sent to an admin. So it looks something like this. So we're going to get into that and seeing it, but the set opportunity name fails. That's not what we're going through today. It's going to send an error, display an error message. And then in that subflow, it's going to have this, where it's sending an email, checking if we have the name of the flow, and then creating that error log entry. So, being from Cincinnati, Ohio, Joe Burrow walked into my office and he's like, hey, I want to open a mortgage or I want to do something. We worked through the process, and this is a common use case in banking. We do this all the time, where Joe Burrow has become a customer of the bank and we need his information in the bank. Obviously, all the bank details, all the customer details come in on a batch job on a nightly basis sometimes. Sometimes it is real time. But oftentimes, it's where it comes in on a batch. Maybe Joe Burrow calls in from the call center, and he's saying something's wrong with his account, or he needs his last transaction. Whatever it may be, we need to pull in the most recent information to make sure we're talking to Joe appropriately. So up here, I have this little button, Core Sync. What that's going to do is it's going to make a call out to the external system, our core database, our data warehouse, wherever it may be. We click that button, it looks at Joe, it pulls the information back in so I know it's all up to date. So I go ahead and I'm like, oh yeah, Joe, I'll help you out here. Make sure you beat the Chiefs this year. It won't happen. And boom, we get an error message. And it's personalized here. It's saying, Elliot, we encountered an error with the sync of core. A connection, and I duplicated that there just to make sure everybody knows it says connection. I put it twice. A connection cannot be made to the core system due to an invalid CIF ID, the unique identifier of Joe. Something's wrong. Is it blank? I know it's not blank because the core sync button does not show up because I'm using dynamic actions unless the CIF's entered. But something's wrong there. A message has been sent to your system administrator. If you need to provide them with any details, provide them with this. And this is, the actual error message, the flow fault message. So I'm providing them with all that, but they know it already went out to the system admin, and they need to investigate it. So down here, there's the CIF. I have it. It's there, so something's wrong. So did the API break? Is the CIF wrong? Is it incorrect? That's for the admin to figure out. So what's this look like? This is my flow. This is all it is. So Right here, we have the sync with core. When it's running, it goes through, sends that API message out, it fails. So the fault handler, this is what we have in this fault handler. We have the date, time, and these are all variables being passed out to this fault handler. One fault handler that's used over and over and over again. All you need to do is put it in here and just set all the variables. So it's going to tell me the date and time of the error. When did this happen? The error message, I'm passing over the fault from the error. The flow name, the flow type, because I want to know on my record log how many auto launch flows, record triggered flows, scheduled flows, platform flows. I want to know which flows are failing and how much on my report. It's going to pass over the record ID. So when I get it as an admin, I don't need to think about it. I have the ID of the record that's failing every time. The running user, so who clicked the button, as well as their email so I can communicate with them if needed, or if I wanted to take this a step further and send an email to the user. So everything I need is there. It passes it over, kicks this off. I have a send email, and then I'm checking, do I have the name of the flow available? Did it pass that in? Because sometimes I can get a little wonky, but if it does or doesn't, it basically does the same thing. It's just one passes the flow name, one does not. So it's creating that error log entry, and this is what I'm passing in. So I'm going to have the date, time, the error message, the flow type, name of the flow, the record ID, the running user, and the status is all being passed over. What this creates, I want to go to the error log. The one tab I did not open, so let's go to my error log. So just to display all of them here, and you'll see we have a lot of flow errors that we've triggered on here just to make this appear a little better here. So we have sales cadences going on. If people are in bankruptcy, it's passing them over. All fake data in here, but I have a lot of demos I could run through on here. Financial accounts delinquent. So you can see what the names of the flow are in all these. So let's go to ours that we just created. Here it is. So we open this up. So what this does automatically, we get that error log. It creates an error log entry for us as an admin team to work. So now I have all the information about it. This is a custom object. So you may say, why don't you just use case? If you have Service Cloud, absolutely use case. I also have, I've worked with people that haven't used a custom object here. They've used custom metadata types. Completely fine as well. I want this all to be fully reportable, be able to populate on a dashboard. I route it to, in an actual environment, it would go to a queue for that admin team unless there's one admin. Route it to a queue, you can sign the work out to start to drill down into what this is. I've also had others that have put an action up there to create a case out of it. So you link the error log entry to the case on what you're working. So it just comes down to your use case and how you want to work through these and what works best for your team. But I see here the name of the flow, it's auto-launched, the running user, the date and time of the error, and the error message here, and the record ID. So everything I need to get down into what happened, when it happened. As an admin, I can come down here, or product owner, or if you wear all of those hats at once, you can come down here, you work it, and then you find out, okay, what is the root cause? As you work it, you can say, all right, it was field level security, it was user error, training, API or integration failure, and put in your notes, save it, and close it. But this is what gives you that idea of what's going on in your org. Every single one of these is creating those. Now, if you're getting multiple flows, multiple flow errors of the same exact flow, but on different records, you can obviously put some logic in there to find it's the same flow and have one as the parent error log and then relate them together. That way they're not creating, hundreds of flow errors that are all getting assigned to different people and you're working the exact same thing initially. So that's something that can go into your design around the system. But what's this give us? So the error log itself, this is my custom object, all the fields I have on it and how I designed it. Again, if it's a org with Service Cloud, I would 100% use cases on here. I'm not creating a custom object, but in the case that you don't have cases, this works, custom metadata types work. It just comes down to how do you want to work it and design it yourself. the dashboard itself. And this is what gets very powerful for delivering that message to your team or your leadership of, we have so much going on in our org. I'm wearing 1,000 different hats. We need help, and we need it bad. When I was at First Financial Bank, that's where I started my career in Salesforce back in 2016, this is what we did, because I started with an org of 100 users, commercial and wealth management, and within 2 years, we had 2,000 users, and we were bank-wide. And I couldn't handle it all myself with me and just my boss, so we had to scale it. We had to scale a team, and we had to paint that message and clear picture of what's going on. We're training people. We're rolling it out to different markets. We're building reports. We're building dashboards. We are running the product backlog. We're running all the design requirements. We're running pipeline meetings for all the sales teams to make sure they adopt the system. And I'm handling all this. And I'm handling all these other tickets for Salesforce requests that come in. So this makes it very easy to say, look at this. I mean, I have different error logs. Here they all are, by auto launch, record triggered, scheduled, in the screen flow. I have error logs by month. So going back to December, like I said, this is real. This actually happened. Salesforce release broke some flows, so the error logs ticked up a little bit. Things weren't working. We have open error logs by type. We have error logs by owner and status, so who's owning what in our system. Open error logs by type, so how many are currently open. We have a lot of scheduled flow errors from my testing right now, for my demo. And then close error logs. So, okay, you have all this, so what happened? Well, we can see here that a lot of these were around field level security. We have plenty of them around user training, so there actually wasn't an error in the system. We just got to get back out there and train them a little bit more. And then we have some here around record locking and sharing conflicts. How many of you get those errors all the time? You know, we have an integration running. People are trying to update different things. Scheduled flows running when integrations are running. You're going to get maybe thousands, depending on the number of records in your org there. And then we have error logs by root cause, so you can see how many around each. So this is one of the ones that I find most beneficial, thinking outside of, let's just design this better, let's just architect this better. This is going to help you as admins paint that picture of, we need help. I'm buried. I'm drowning with everything I have going on. You need something like this to be able to have that proper conversation and deliver the messaging that the team needs to scale a little bit. We're underwater. Now, like I said, other flows I have, they all have it. Now, once I edit this thing and go back to it, but this is one that I have that's very common in Financial Services Cloud, because 9 times out of 10 we have person accounts enabled. But we still have people that go out there and create contacts, one-off, shouldn't be happening. So this is one of the flows that I have that just kind of protects us around that. If somebody creates a one-off contact when we're supposed to be person accounts only, it takes that contact when it's created, it sees it's not a person account, creates a matching person account, reparents all the account contact relationships, and then goes back and deletes that original contact, just keeping the org and the data clean. Because if anybody's ever worked in person account orgs, if you have a business lead and you convert that, can't turn it off. It's always going to create a contact. You can't prevent it. This is what kind of protects that. So when that's converted, it creates a matching person account, keeps your data clean. But with every one of these DML statements, I have that reusable flow in there and displaying the error. And that error message here, they're all different because it's going to tell you exactly where it erred out. So it erred out on getting that new contact. It erred out on getting the account contact relationship. So if it errors out, it's going to go over there, create the error log entry, display the custom error message. Keeps everything very much in sync, user-friendly error messages, one flow that does it all, and it's attached to every single flow I have in this org. Now, like I said, once I edit this, I'm pretty much only going to have one here, and I'm going to link it all back to those instead of having it all separate here. But it works. It does exactly what it's supposed to do in this case. Any questions on any of that before we jump forward? All right. So what we used there in that case, we had a flow, we had a subflow, we displayed the error message, we sent an email action, and I could pull up my email and show you that if I want, but it's just a basic email alert. And then we use a custom object, error log. Again, don't have to use a custom object. Can use cases, can use custom metadata types. It comes down to what you have available in your org and how you want to architect that. But it all works exactly the same. Gives you the same type of reporting and analytics behind it to say, here's what I need. All right, next, who has used the custom error for smart validations? One of the greatest use cases around this. Love seeing that there's hands up. This is something I utilize all the time here. So this is, again, thinking outside the box. They put out this custom error message, not necessarily for the purpose of smart validation rules, but it is an excellent use case around this. So what I'm about to show you here, it's pretty much going to look exactly like that. But it's an error message that pops up if somebody's trying to do something and we need to stop them, but out-of-the-box validation rules don't cut it. It's not going to work in this use case. Commonly, like I said at the beginning, it's around, hey, you know, we hear it in discovery all the time. When this happens, when somebody's going through and opening a commercial loan, or they're opening a consumer loan, they're applying for a mortgage, if this is true, this is true, this is true, this is false, when all this comes into play, they shouldn't be able to do it. Well, validation rules don't cut it there. Used to be we'd have to design it in a screen flow to walk through, guide them through it, and then just stop them if some of that isn't filled in. Now we don't have to do it, because it could be something where they're just trying to escalate something, which is what I'm going to do here. They're trying to escalate something. But if there's not an open case in the last 30 days and there's not a primary contact, we don't want them escalating it. They need to mark somebody as a primary contact so we know who to contact for this escalation and basically what case is it about. So again, what we're going to say here is the account can't be escalated if there's not a primary contact and there's not an open case that has been opened in the last 30 days. If it's 31 days, they can still escalate it. So what's that look like here? So we have Burlington Textiles Corporation of America. Everybody's probably pretty familiar with Burlington Textiles. They're in every trailhead org. So in this one here, all I did is I put, just for demo purposes, a custom escalated field here. And we're saying something's going on. We need to escalate this account. So I come down here and I say, yep, let's escalate it. Fake here, demo fail, because I'm on the wrong account. It's Edge Communications, another very common one. So I kept it on Burlington because I was going to show you when it works. So that's when it works. But on Edge here, I hit save, and we get this to pop up. And again, it's personalized. Hey, Elliot, Edge Communications cannot be escalated as there is not a primary contact and an open case created in the last 30 days. So I'm like, oh, yeah, that's right. I can't do it in that case. So this is what it looks like when the smart validation pops up appropriately. And you saw with Burlington where it happens if it does work. They escalate it, it pops on a report, an email goes out. Whatever happens when we escalate it, that's what's happening. So in Edge's case, what we know is there's not a primary contact. I know that because that's how I configured it here. There's a case open, but not a primary contact. So what it looks like, it is very, very simple to set these up. So in this case here, this flow, it's a record-triggered flow, and it's going to kick off whenever a record is created and updated, and escalated equals true. So anytime we go on here and we're clicking escalated equals true, it's going to evaluate this. And it comes down here, and what it's getting is a primary contact. So it's getting the primary contact from whatever record I'm on. It's checking, do we have one? And if so, we're going to grab the first record we find. Because it doesn't matter if there's 5, 10. We just want the first one to say, yes, there is a primary contact here. Then we're going down, and this is a little bit different because we have to use a formula in this. But we're getting the cases. We're getting all cases, or one case, where the account ID equals the account I'm on. The status does not equal closed, because if it's created in the last 30 days and it's closed, don't care. That doesn't take into account here. And the created date is greater than or equal to the last number of days variable. And that variable is simply this. The current date minus 30. So all I want to know is it's the last 30 days. So it's going to grab grabs all records there in that case. But you can do one, you can do many, doesn't matter. And then this is that checking the null and empty values I'm talking about. All right, so we're coming down and we have a decision here. And what we're looking at here is it valid or invalid. If it's invalid, that means that one of these two variables is null. It may have got a primary contact, but we don't have an open case in the last 30 days. Or we have an open case in the last 30 days, but we don't have a primary contact. If any of those are true or it's null, we didn't get anything, then it comes over here and all it does is display that custom error message. And I'm big on personalizing these things. I don't know why, I just think it creates a better user experience. But here we're just using that variable. Hey, user first name, the record name cannot be escalated because there's not a primary contact or there's not an open case created in the last 30 days. That's all I wanted to say. This here, it's not necessarily handling flow errors and fault paths and things like that, but it is an awesome use case that just greatly improves the user experience and improves your org, makes things a heck of a lot easier for all those cross-object and cross-record errors or validations that you need to run through. 9 times out of 10, validation rules work just fine the way they are. But in this case, there's a lot of different variables coming into play. Let's stop them without having to go through a complex screen flow or something like that and guide them through. Any questions there? All right. So again, in this one here, we just use one record triggered flow and a custom error. Sometimes you have to create those formula variables if you have to do that, but it is a very simple use case that is extremely powerful within your org. All right. So the architecture of all these matter, designing for scale, and this is one of the things I harp on every project I'm doing. There's a lot of ways to do things in Salesforce. That is one of the great things about it. I challenge every customer I go into because we'll have our scope of work, but I press on them of what else is giving you some pains? What else is, could be made more efficient? It may not be something we're planning in this project, but if it's something I can knock out quickly to deliver that value, I want to do it because chances are you can do it in Salesforce. But what comes with that powerful system we have is there's 1,000 ways to do it, and it works. But what is the right way to do it? All right, so number 1, documenting fault paths clearly. It helps your team understand how errors are handled and improves that troubleshooting and the handoffs that come into play when you're working with those flows. So using flow descriptions, I hate walking in to orgs and there's not descriptions because one day, either we're not going to be there as a consultant, a partner, or that admin's going to walk out the door, or something's going to happen. They're not going to be there, and you don't even know where to start. So documenting all the flows, not only the flow description itself, but each and every little node that we have in there, what's happening? Because we may be very advanced, but that admin we're handing this off to they're a beginner, so they need to know what's happening in that individual node. And then making sure we have annotations, external architecture documents. I use Lucid, I use Mural, I use Miro to document all my flows. What's happening, when it's happening, why we designed it a certain way. Having architecture diagrams, having architecture documents, document everything. Using subflows. I've seen some massive screen flows and record-triggered flows, and some of these things are just repeated over and over again. Use subflows. It makes things much, much more scalable and much easier to follow. Naming conventions and standards. If you go out there, Salesforce has documentations around best practices for naming conventions. I'm not saying that's the best way to do it. So an example here, it enables that team collaboration, searchability, and org cleanliness. Absolutely, it does that. The recommendations here, use prefixes like SCR underscore that indicates it's a screen flow. RT for record triggered. Do I do that for everything? Absolutely not. I'll tell you right now, I don't. I don't follow those practices. Why? Because I put in there the name of it, what's happening in that flow, kind of like a prefix, and then I put it in the description. I don't worry about using this as a prefix on each and every flow. I have more important things. We have more important things we're focusing on in our org when we can just take that flow type and put it into the list view of flows. And I can just organize it by screen flows. All right, so if you're not doing that, if you do, awesome, great. The big thing here is follow a naming convention. I go into an org and I say, what is your process for naming these? Because I'm going to follow what you tell me to. And if you don't have one, then I'm going to recommend one. But I'm going to recommend some kind of naming convention to be consistent and keep it clean. Do not hard code IDs. I know there's a session later on in the conference here about getting rid of those hard-coded IDs. One of the worst practices you can have. And I go into orgs sometimes and they're like, well, I hard-code my record types because you can't get it. Like, oh, you absolutely can. Let's teach you that. Don't hard code IDs. It's a terrible practice. Those are going to change between orgs. Don't hard code. Do not DML inside of a loop. That was and still is a big no-no. If you've been using loops, how many of you use loops? How many of you use the new transform element? Transform is awesome. Like what you used to have to do in loops is gone. You can do a lot of that in transform. It's much easier. So if you don't use it yet, I highly recommend just getting used to it and utilizing it because it is a great element. Loops are still there. There's still all kinds of use cases around it. If you use them, don't do a get records, don't do a create records. Inside of those loops, you will hit governor limits at some point. And always check for those null and empty variables. If they're going to be used elsewhere, check for it. If they don't have it, let's end it. All right, so what did we learn today? Some things for you all to take home here. Design for user trust, not for system defaults. User trust, user experience, default error messages, they confuse users and erode the trust of your system. The thing you're working so hard to build and make awesome, it's probably awesome, it's probably great, but if they get those errors, they completely lose faith in it. All right, so make sure you're building for that and building for user experience. Replace those out-of-the-box terrible messages with clear, actionable, user-friendly feedback. Second, be proactive with error handling. Build it, make it reusable. Use fault connectors, email alerts, error logging. If you don't use error logging today, is it a best practice that you have to do it? No, but it's going to help you in the long run. When that time comes that you need help, and it's going to come, it helps paint that picture of why. What are we doing? What are the hats we're wearing as an admin? Because you're wearing 1,000 of them, and you're going to need help. So make sure you're being proactive with that and providing that audit trail around what's happening. Don't wait for users to report problems. Be proactive with it. Make error handling reusable. Use subflows. Build it once and reuse it over and over again. If you want to see it afterwards, I'm happy to provide documentation on how I did it, and I can send it to you. But build it once and reuse it. Prevention is the best error handling. So using decision elements, validations within it, smart architecture prevents that failure and prevents it before it occurs, saving both your user frustration and the effort on your end to figure out what the heck is going on there. Think of the architecture, not just the fixes. Error handling, it's not just a patch. It's a part of designing flows that, to scale and support compliance, maintenance, and the long-term success of your system. All right. What's next here? I'm going to provide you, I have some things on Trailhead. I am always on Trailhead. I try to do like a badge or two a day. I'm always trying to learn here. Salesforce admins, visit that and also visit the well-architected side of things. What are the best practices for architecting our system, for our flows? Flows is something that each and every Salesforce release, they're building more and more functionality into the system. On the side of, I work with small banks, large banks. I try to get through every project I have without a single line of code, and I do that most of the time because what you could do 5 years ago with Flow, you can do so much more now, and you can do so much more with every release. All right, so make it, designed for the architecture, but you can do a lot with Flow now. So I highly recommend just diving in and learning as much as you can, both on the admin side and the architecture side. If you have questions, I'll be around. This is how you contact me again. I'm very active on LinkedIn. If you followed me on X, formerly Twitter, whatever it's called now, you'll probably get a lot of college wrestling tweets, not much Salesforce, but there are some. And then that's my email there, coastalcloud.us. So this is stuff I use all the time. Great Flow resources. Automation Champion, Unofficial SF. Unofficial SF has tons of stuff available that Salesforce hasn't done yet within Flow. It's probably coming, but there's a lot of great stuff on Unofficial SF. I'm sure everybody follows Salesforce Ben. There's all kinds of other blogs up there that I use all the time. Some recommended modules. This is around Flow basics and things like that, but these right here, the transforms, this is an awesome, awesome trail. I recommend it. So getting used to those multi-record elements, smart validations, and the transform element. With that, I want to thank everybody for coming today. If you need anything, I'll be here. But again, please visit our sponsors. Again, we wouldn't be here without them. So get out there, check out their booth, get a demo. There's a lot of great stuff out there. Again, I use a lot of these on a lot of my projects. But thank you again. And if you need anything, I'll be around.
your flow, follow the map. Mile high dreaming's got your back. Denver skies, trailhead pride.